Hi, my name is Don Alger and I'm producing this video for my 21st Century presentation. When I first decided to do a video, I was going to talk about how much I had accomplished and by beating the odds of success being an older student in a difficult and demanding course of study. I wanted to tell you how I was going to change the world with my education, you know, the blah 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 that everyone else talks about. But in a moment of reflection, or maybe it was humility, I realized that I didn't get here alone. And I've decided instead to do a short tribute to the many people who have helped me get here and who have made a lot of this possible. So, Act 1. First, a little bit about myself, because let's face it, without me, there's no this. I spent my entire adult life doing manual labor. I was strong, I was young, and I was really good at anything I tried my hand at. And I wasn't afraid to tell everybody how proud I was of myself, and I made sure everybody knew it. Then my pride and my hubris and a defective 12-foot ladder conspired together to bring my entire world crashing down around me. So I spent the next year trying to get back to full capacity by working and trying to heal, but it became apparent very early on that this just wasn't happening. In fact, I wasn't getting better, I was actually getting worse. So at this point I decided I'd give my parents a call, asked them to come and get me, and they said they would. At the time they lived in Southern California and I lived in Utah. So they came and got me, took me back to their house, and for the next 2 years I tried to rehabilitate and get back into the working world so I could try to support myself. As life would have it, about 2 years after this all began, my parents decided that they needed to move to Idaho. And I didn't realize it at the time, but I needed to move to Idaho as well. So that's Act 1. Act 2 is once we'd moved to Twin Falls, I managed to get a job, a temporary job at the DI. And after a couple of months, I was still deciding what direction my life was going to take. I knew it would involve school of some kind, but I had no clear direction yet. Now I want to pause here for a minute and talk about a musical that was popular. I know, bear with me, this will make sense here in a second. But I want to talk about a musical that was really popular in the 70s. It's called South Pacific, and it's pretty famous, so if you haven't seen it, you've probably at least heard of it. But in this musical, there was a song, and I believe it was called Across a Crowded Room, and it dealt with a character, one of the main characters, who met the love of his life while gazing at her across a crowded room. And as life will sometimes imitate art, this happened to me. While I was working at the DI, on a particularly crowded day, the newest crop of new hires had just emerged from training and was coming out onto the floor, and leading them was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen in my life. And I was literally looking at her across a crowded room. And the world stopped for me. I couldn't do anything except fall in love. And I managed to do that. I fell in love with a woman who I had never seen before and I'd never even spoken to. And because of this, I actually was too terrified to go up and talk to her. Fortunately, she felt inspired to come and talk to me, and even though this is not a video of my love life or of my marriage, suffice it to say that since that day that she first spoke to me, we have never been apart since. Now, I'm mentioning my beautiful bride here at this point because she is the first link in a chain that has led me to where I am today. She decided early on in our relationship that she was going to invest in our future by making it possible for me to attend school. So Act 3 of this drama, and the purpose of this video, is to publicly acknowledge some of the people who are directly responsible for my successes so far. First, let me say that there are so many people involved, and there just is not enough time to go into all of them, and I'm really sorry about that, because these other people are also important to me, and they contributed to my education as well. But there are a few who stand out above the rest. First, there's Teresa Pham. Until CSI, I had not attended a math class in 35 years. And even at that time, I was not a good math student. And she quickly realized that I was going to need some extra help or I was not going to make it. She took it upon herself to ensure that I'd learned not only math, but that I could also be successful in a college atmosphere. If not for her attention, I would have not have withstood the stresses of college life after being out of school for so long. Next, there are Jan Carpenter and Priscilla Bingham. These two professors of English, took it upon themselves, and it took both of them to teach me how to write. Up until this point, I had not written more than a couple of sentences or maybe a paragraph, and my first experience in a writing class was actually at the college level, and they taught me the basics. They were patient, and they taught me everything that I needed to know. Next was Ken Bingham, who, although I'd learned the basics already, taught me how to organize my thoughts and to put them in a logical order and to put them down on paper in a comprehensive manner so that somebody could read my paper and not only learn something, but maybe even enjoy it a little bit. Okay, the last few people that I want to talk about are directly responsible for my being in the business program. First, there's Crystal Ayers, who not only taught me and encouraged me, but she made me believe in myself. She is smart and strong, and I was able to lean on that strength when I was weak and discouraged. She taught me, you could say she taught me off the books, because even though I only had one class with her, but I knew that if I showed up at her office, and she would stop what she was doing and help me. Next, there's Mike Slagle. What could I say about Mike other than, well, he would have made a good taskmaster in Egypt during the building of the pyramids. He is particularly good at getting people to do very difficult things. He taught me more about professional life and expectations than he did about statistics. He's become my friend and has never accepted anything from me but the best. Colin Randolph was a college professor. He's retired now, but he was a man I trusted and admired. And he gave me a lot of insight into a world that was challenging, compelling, and unforgiving to those not strong enough to live in it. When I was discouraged, he managed to show me where my bootstraps were so that I could pull myself up. He is one of those that if it wasn't for him, I would not be here. Now, one of the most prominent and influential people in my college career and my life is Dr. John Hurley, Professor of Business and Economics at CSI. I could spend an entire day probably talking about how important Dr. Hurley is to me in not only my personal life, but my professional as well. He's energetic, he's dedicated, and completely committed to business. You can tell that he is a doer and not a talker. I learned one of the most important lessons from him, and that's integrity. I've never met anyone with a higher degree of ethics than I observed in him. He showed me that business could be fun, and that success was not only for me personally, but for the world at large as well. The country as a whole. No, I mean the world as a whole depends on our ability to act in an ethical manner at all times. Never ever giving in to temptation, never ever accepting the ends justify the means, and how we conduct ourselves in business is more important than the business itself. If Dr. John Hurley ran the world, there would be more laughter and love before business and a lot more happiness after. The other most important and influential person in my college life and personal life is Cindy Harmon. I have put her in this position because she is most directly responsible for my being in the accounting program. I was enrolled in an AAS degree program at CSI, and as Providence would have it, I drew her as my accounting and bookkeeping professor. Cindy saw something in me that I would have never seen in myself. She knew with conviction that I needed to be an accountant, and she shared this conviction with me and set me on a course, or more like an odyssey of self-discovery through many life-affirming events. Cindy not only taught me, she mentored me, and at times, and I'm a little embarrassed to admit this, when I needed it, she mothered me. She also knew that I needed what I needed and when I needed it, and she never allowed me to accept anything but the best for myself. In my heart, I'm an accountant. Maybe those of you who are suffering through this video right now, that seems to you, maybe to you that seems to be boring, or that I settled for something less. And let me assure you that there could be nothing further from the truth. Cindy Harmon installed in me, or rather she awoke in me, a love for the accounting world. I am an accountant, not yet by deed, but deep in my heart. I know that that is exactly what I am and what I have always been. She literally showed me who I really am. Would I have been happy without this? Probably, since I married a wonderful, beautiful woman. And would I have been successful? Well, perhaps. Perhaps I would, but I would have never reached my potential without Cindy Harmon. So you see, it really does take a village, and not just to raise a child. So none of us are really alone. There are other people out there that we can reach out to. I was fortunate enough to have begun my college career at a school where the professors cared enough about me and my education to overcome a lifetime of mediocrity and failure. And lastly, I think I need to thank Professor Tiffany Seeley Case. She is always cheerful and so excited, and it's all the time. She's always on. And she has decided that she is going to drag me kicking and screaming into the 21st century whether I want to or not. Thank you. Go Broncos!